Hey Hodies, welcome back to my channel. My name is hautemesstom and thank you so much for clicking on this video. This is the After Sass. If this is the first video of mine you've ever clicked on, the After Sass is the video I do immediately following my new makeup release video called Critical Sass. And what I do in this video is I look at all the new releases that I talked about in my last video, in my new release video, and then I go into my makeup collection and I pull out things that evoke the same feeling. And what I'm trying to do in this video is to help myself and to help you build the habit of looking to our collections first whenever we're inspired by something new to see if we already have something that can fill that gap. So if that kind of content sounds good to you, I would love to have you subscribe. My content is really about loving my makeup collection first and foremost, as it already is, and just being very discerning about what I bring into my makeup collection. Make sure you like this video, share it, leave a comment, let me know what you're interested in right now. I'm also on patreon.com if you would like to support me there. It's patreon.com/hautemesstom, and on there you can find my additional content from me, my podcast with my friend Kackie of Kackie Reviews Beauty, and eventually there will be more to offer there, but right now it's like one additional video a month. But I do want to take the moment to thank all of my current patrons. You are so fabulous. But there's also no pressure to join my Patreon. It's just an option for you. Liking and commenting is a great way to support me or any other creator that you really like. I also have another podcast that's completely free on Spotify with my friend Tiffany. It's called Recollect. You can find it linked down below. It's a music podcast if that's your thing. There were a lot of palettes being shown off in the video yesterday. We're in the holiday season, like a lot of brands are releasing palettes. So some of this stuff that I'm going to be putting on my face doesn't really have a correlation to something I talked about in Critical Sass. I talked about these Tony Moly jelly lip treatments and I was like, ooh, that's really gross. I have a lip balm that I really, really like, and it's from Make Beauty. It's the Make Beauty Serum Balm, and this is in the shade Halo Moon. I haven't found that the shade really adds anything to my lips, like no sparkle or anything. It seems to me to be just a clear balm. I will say I am running through this faster than I'd like. I also think I'm using it more than my other lip balms because I do think it is my favorite lip balm I've tried in recent times. But another lip balm that I really like is the one from Mario Badescu. Their lip balm is really good. I just don't like the squeezy tubes with the plastic I don't like that. I'd much rather have this as an application method. I'm assuming a lot of you have lip balms that you already prefer and you wouldn't need to buy the Tony Moly one, but also just the idea of buying a limited edition lip balm scent is a little bit moot to me. And what I mean by that is what if that ends up being your favorite version of that product and you only can buy it right now? A few years ago, I used to buy those Lush lip scrubs, and on Valentine's Day I think they released one that was cola flavored. I loved it. I loved it so much, and they did bring it back the next year, but I'm not sure they brought it back the year after that because I was looking for it and they didn't. And it really sucks whenever your favorite thing gets discontinued. But limited edition scents and flavors of lip balm is for sure a way that's the way they'll get you. But then it's also what if I don't like any of your other flavors? What if that was the flavor, the number one? So I don't really even recommend getting limited edition lip balms. I know a lot of people don't like limited edition collections. I have nothing against them. I think that they need to last longer than they do. But I like the idea of a limited curation of something that's not supposed to be forever. And I think that's whenever brands can really play, but they choose not to. But I'm gonna start doing my makeup. So I'm gonna be using the Victoria Beckham Cell Rejuvenating Primer. I'm almost done with this. I can tell because sometimes I pump and it's a little bit more airy than it usually is. And I'm just trying to use this up. It's from last year. There's a 6-month shelf life on it, but it's still behaving. It smells okay. So I'm just trying to through it. And I've been using that primer from, or not primer, but I've been using that glow product from Chanel that my friend Nicole sent me for too long. And I was like, I really need to come back to this because I know it's almost done and I pan things so rarely. It'd be nice to just, fully pan something. I have a lot of pan growing in my collection right now, which is pretty cool. I'd love to see it. So for foundation today, I'm actually going to use the Prism Libre Skincare Concealer from Givenchy. I do think I like this more as a foundation, and I do think that I do have a foundation that I would like to remove from rotation. I'm gonna try it a couple more times. I haven't decided fully, but the Reboot foundation, which I really liked from Makeup Forever, it's starting to not really hold a candle to my other foundations, and it's I don't know that I need you kicking around. I really like it, and I still think I really like it, but it's not doing enough. And I also feel like all the concealers I have are like way too high coverage for it, even though I don't even think the concealers that I use are like the most high coverage. But I do really like wearing this as a foundation. And if I was using it like this, I'm definitely going to actually like use it up as a foundation. I don't think if I was using it as a concealer that I would ever finish this bottle before it went bad, because they give you so much product. So I think this is how I'm going to use it. And then I've been just really loving using my Ciroc concealers as concealers. Both of them, both the Dewdrop and the Surreal Skin concealers. Today I'm going to be using the Dewdrop concealers. I use two shades. I use shade 1 and 2. Kackie keeps telling me that I need to get 3, but I don't mind making these work, you know, until maybe I'll buy 3 whenever I'm finished these up. I got my eyes checked for the first time in a really long time last week. I hadn't been to the eye doctor in like so long. I knew that I was going to get along with this eye doctor. Here's the thing. Do you ever find that when you're dealing with like a healthcare professional that they just kind of they're just like a little bit no nonsense? I hate that. I need a little bit of nonsense, right? Like, I understand you're telling me about my health or whatever, but like we don't need to be like so serious. And I'm not saying that there aren't things that we need to discuss health-wise that can be serious. I'm not trying to say that. But what I am trying to say is just like the interactions with healthcare professionals often doesn't feel like human to human. Like, we are both people and in fact peers. You just happen to be a peer of mine that knows a lot about health stuff. And I understand that there are definitely probably patients that give a lot of pushback. I think it's a self-fulfilling prophecy sometimes in the healthcare industry where it's like they're miserable and then the people who are visiting them are miserable because they're miserable to be there, and then everything's just miserable. Like going to the doctor is miserable. Very few people like just like go into the doctor, and then it's like we do it and then they're always running behind. It's just like this whole, it's like, and then the patients are more miserable because they've been like waiting forever because they just run it, they're here for their yearly checkup, and it's like, you know what I mean? Anyway, so I'm getting my eyes checked, and I go to the eye place. So I thought I knew where I was going, but when I got there, I was like, this isn't the place that I thought that I was going for my vision. I thought I was going to like a different place, like a place that felt a little bit classier. And not that this place wasn't great, by the way. I'm not trying to say that they're not classy there. It was just like, okay. If I don't let, if you are a fellow glasses wearer, and this could just be me being like that person who likes a high-end experience, I like to go to like boutique eye places, like places that sell like more, you know, curated frames. I don't know, whatever. You can say what you want about me. I just, you know, I like high-end things, right? And I thought that this place was more like one of those places, but it wasn't. And it, you know, it was still fine. And they also still carried very fun frames because I got a very cute pair of frames. I'll post a picture of me in them here. I'm wearing contacts because it's easier to do my makeup with contacts in. Whenever I was introduced to the eye doctor, she was like, when was the last time you went to the eye? When was the last time you were at the eye doctor? And I was like, well, it's been like 7 years. And she was like, what the piss, Tom? That was like, she said, what the piss? And I said, I'm gonna get along with this person. I'm gonna get along with her. And she was really great. And I felt like, you know, we had like a little bit of a rapport. We had a little bit of quid pro quo. She didn't talk down on me. She just was like making sure that like, okay, you're here now. You have the means to, you know, do this. You should do it every year. And I was like, okay, you got it. And I will definitely go back because I really liked my interaction there. And it like it wasn't scary at all. You know, I mean, not that I was scared to go to the eye doctor, but you know, I got my eyes dilated, which is always like a time. If you ever had your eyes dilated, have you ever been to the eye doctor? But basically all it does is like it makes your pupils just, you know, just your whole iris is pupil. It's just like it's so bright. I have an HSA. And I like remembered that I had an HSA, which is sometimes I don't remember that I have one, but I have an HSA, a health savings account, I guess, for those of you who don't know what it is. And it's like, you can use it for like glasses and health related things. And I've just never used it, but I've been putting money into it forever. And I was like, I guess I'm going to use that. And I did. And it felt like girl math. Like I paid for my glasses and I also didn't, you know, like it didn't come out of my checking account, which whenever I was a server, and like cash was the main form of like money that I had. Oh my God. If it wasn't in my checking account, then it didn't count, right? Like if my checking account had money in it, that was great. And if I didn't put the cash in it, it was never in there. And then it just didn't count as money. And I know I'm not the only person who thinks like this, that has been a server or is like cash-based tips is what they do. It's 'cause, like, if there's money, if the money doesn't come out of your checking account, then it's not real. I did powder my face, but I did buy a new thing. And this is going to be an interesting correlation to Critical Sass, but I bought the Sisley Blur Expert powder and I bought it in the lighter shade. There are only 2 shades of this, and so it looks like this. Now, I love a blurring powder. I currently have the Chantecaille Perfect Blur powder, and this is what mine looks like. I'm certainly not done with it. However, I have been wondering how they will compare because I have some friends who say that this is better, and I think a lot of you are also interested in hearing my thoughts on it. And now there's also a CoverGirl one that I want to get my hands on, and we're going to do another Battle of the Blur. Let me tell you how this correlates to Critical Sass. I have been wanting this for a very long time. Now, I did not buy it last year because I hadn't even hit pan on this yet, but I don't know that we're like incredibly close on finishing this up, but like it's closer than it's ever been, right? It's closer than it's ever been. And my intention is to completely finish this, by the way, no matter if I prefer this over this or if I prefer the CoverGirl over either one of these. Sisley only runs one sale a year, and this is something I've learned because I follow Sisley and I've been wanting a deal on this right here. So there's a couple ways to navigate sales, and I talked about yesterday, like, make sure when you're shopping the sale, you're only buying things that you've already intended on buying. And I think this is a good example of that, where it's like, it's, you know, there's a number of reasons. I bought this for content, right? But I also bought it for my own interest. But I did wait for it to go on sale because I didn't need it right away. But I also knew that like I would rather have it on sale because this powder I think is $110. Originally I paid $88 for it. Like that's what sales should be like ultimately used for. Obviously we're allowed to navigate the space however we want. I think this is like, you know, if you think about how long I've been interested in trying it and that I waited for a sale and it wasn't something like I would have bought it full price if the time came where like I really felt like this was going to be finishing, but I also had the money to buy it at the time too. I didn't buy it just because it was on sale. Like everything just kind of aligned and it became a good time for me to purchase it. But I didn't add anything else from Sisley. I'm interested in Sisley as a brand. You know, I'm interested in trying more from them because I know that they, you know, they're luxury, but also I've heard that a lot of their stuff is very good, this being one of them. Now, I have tried it on my face one time. I don't know how I feel about it. So what I'm gonna do today is for the Chantecaille Perfect Blur powder, I like to use this brush from Sonia G, but it doesn't matter what you're using. This is the Sonia G Smooth Buffer, but like any buffing brush will do. I used to use a Wet n Wild brush with this Chantecaille powder before I bought this one. So like a Wet n Wild brush also will work. And I buff it into the skin. So with my first experience with this, I felt like my skin looked really powdery and textured, like I'd put on a very matte foundation. So I'm gonna buff it into the skin here. And yes, I did use my other powders before this because this is like technically a finishing powder. I thought with this is, I know that it can be also used as a primer. Like that's another way that Sisley suggests to use it. I learned that because I watched Michelle Wong and she said that she didn't like this powder until she use it as a primer. I got errant sparkle on my face. I need to wash my brushes, but I don't have soap for my brushes right now, but I'm gonna remedy that on Thursday. So no worries. So I only have powder on this part of my face, but I just feel like it looks really powdery. But what I will say is whenever I used this, I did the buffing method that I just did the first time I used it, and I felt like it looked really powdery. But then when I sprayed my face with Fix Plus, that's where the magic with this powder happened. Like I felt my face looked really blurred. Now, obviously there's a little bit of a blurring property with Fix Plus. It adds like a little bit of a glycerin-y finish, so it does like a little bit of perfecting for you. I felt like the combo of Fix Plus with the Sisley powder was like pretty potent, but I also feel like with the Chantecaille powder that I don't always feel like I need to spray my face after it because I feel like it blends into my skin a lot better. So obviously I'm early dazing it, but what I'm going to do is instead of using a buffing brush, I'm going to just use a powder brush and see if that gives me any better of a finish and maybe feels a little less powdery. So I do feel as though that this side does look better. So maybe it's just I don't want to buff it in, but I do want to try it as a primer as well. Like try it underneath to see what the difference is. You know, I'm still playing around with it. But I do think that this side looks better. This side just looks like maybe the buffing puts too much powder on and maybe this just applies much. But It is like a weird formula. So I'm fairly certain that this is like a baked gelée, this Chantecaille one. And I don't know if this is just a pressed powder, perfecting smoothing powder. But what I will tell you this, is just, you know, since we're here talking about it and it's a new item in my collection, neither one of these things feels like it should cost as much as it does. Now, I think both, well, I think this is really, obviously, I think this is really high performing. It's something that I would buy again. I really liked it. But it's just like, you know, for Sisley's price point, it just like, this could have been a metal compact. This could have been like a metal compact. I would have loved to have seen that, and like maybe a refillable component. It doesn't feel like chintzy. Like I feel like Hourglass packaging feels, it's not like super weighted. I would say like it's just, it's, you know, it's not what I want from a luxury experience as far as packaging and feeling in the hands goes. But it's still early days. What's really great about blurring powders is like they work really well under beauty lights. So in person they kind of look different, but yeah, I do think that it has done its job. I do think my skin looks more perfected. So Gucci released their holiday collection, and all it was a different pattern on the bronzer and a different pattern on some of the shades of lipstick, and also only some of the shades of bronzer. I happen to have the light shade, and that's one of the ones that comes in special packaging. So I don't need to buy the new bronzer because I have this one. And also, bonus, I didn't even pay for this one. This one was gifted to me by a friend who didn't want it anymore. It was rehomed to me. I really like this bronzer, and I know a lot of people really do. If you are in the market for a $65 bronzer, I don't think it's a bad buy. Actually, I think I'm really liking it. Like, my skin's looking pretty good. But I also think the Givenchy concealer is also a really good, it's just a really good foundation. It's, well, I mean, it's really good as a foundation too. I'm surprised that like that's all. I don't, maybe we'll see more. Like I do think that I would like to see Gucci do another palette, but I know that their palette last year was not really well received because of its performance. Like, and I didn't find there being performance issues in the first palette, Beauté de You. My hair is just, it keeps getting bigger and I don't know what to do with it. Like I'm getting it cut soon, so like it'll be handled. It will. I find that bronzer is something that takes me a really long time to go through. Now some other people are different, right? You might tear through bronzer really fast. I don't know you. I know me. I also know that if this wasn't sent to me, I wouldn't have bought this bronzer right now. Like, I think it'd be a bronzer I would try eventually. I have just so many beautiful bronzers. And also I recently said that my bronzer category is like bigger than I would like it to be. Like, I feel like whenever it comes to my end of the year declutter, my bronzer collection is going to be one that I'm hoping to get down to like a more reasonable amount. I just feel like I have too many bronzers. And I, if you have been here for a long time, you know that there was a bronzer I had for 6 years and I like didn't even hit pan on it. Like, yeah, so like bronzer's not a category I'm like tearing through. Now, the only thing that I will say about this is I find that this particular shade of this bronzer for people with fair skin, it's not like any other bronzer shade. It's like perfectly, it's a little bit rosy. It just like really blends into this, it just looks really good. It's like a really good shade. But like if you already have a bronzer you like, why risk it for the biscuit? And also it's just like, don't give Gucci your money when they have done less than the bare minimum for their holiday collection. Like, they don't deserve your money for doing that. In Critical Sass, we talked about Patrick Ta's new blush eyeshadow combination. So let's just focus on the blushes. He put a couple pink blushes in there, and I recently have kind of grown my pink blush collection. Pink blush has not always been my fave, and I've been very open about that. But the shades in there reminded me of some of the shades that I got from Suede, specifically Classique. Now, I do think Classique is like much warmer and a little bit more rich than the shades that are in the Patrick Ta palette, but it is what I'm going to use today. In a very real way, if I bought that Patrick Ta palette, it would really be for those eyeshadows on the other end. Like, that's like what I'm most interested in when I look at that release. The blushes really don't do anything for me. I have, I think, the pink blushes that I need. I have these three that Suede sent me in PR. Classique is actually my least favorite. So like warm pink is not really my favorite when it comes to blush. I definitely like something more either cool toned or neutral is really where my happy place is when it comes to a pink blush. When I see duo products like that, like if you're thinking about the way that Patrick Ta has intended on you using his like cream blush powder duos, is that you're supposed to use them in tandem. But what inevitably will happen is that you'll use one up before you use the other up. And I find that very impractical and really annoying. So whenever I did my contour project where I like tried a bunch of contours, people were asking why I wasn't doing duos, because it's like, I don't want a highlighter on the other end of a contour or a blush on the other end of a contour where I really like the contour but I don't care about the other product, and I will use them at different speeds, and then it will be like I'll finish the contour and then I just have this half thing that I don't want the other half. And then I feel like that's what would happen with the blushes. So let's say I did buy the Patrick Ta palette and I was like using those, I like the powder a lot, but I didn't really care for the creams, or vice versa. And then it's like I would use the creams up and then I just have this palette where the creams are used up or like really well loved and then those powders are barely touched. You know, that's just what happens. So like it's just such an impractical thing to me. And I'm a big proponent of just like buying the blush shade that you want. So Patrick Ta has many blushes. I know that those are like limited edition holiday blushes, but he has some pinks that are pretty close to that in his duos. And what I would say is, instead of spending $65 for this palette, buy the one shade that you want, one duo that you want, because you're going to use that more than I think you're going to use the face palette. Now, there are definitely people who are much more into face palettes than me. Whenever I have a face palette in my possession, I almost never open it and I always reach for my things in individual compacts. I guess this is technically a face palette. I view these more as individual blushes than I would in a face palette, because that palette's going to be a lot, like this is nice and sleek and it fits in my compacts. Like I have like a little thing for my blushes where there's like little slots and that fits into one of them. But if I bought that Patrick Ta palette, I don't even know what it would, where it goes in my face drawer, like my face palette drawer, like where. So I would put it with my eyeshadows and then I would forget that it was there, because whenever I'm doing blush, I'm in my blush drawer and where my bronzers and my contours and all of those things all live in the same drawer. It wouldn't be with those because it wouldn't fit in there with those, and it wouldn't make sense for me to put it in there. And then it's just a product that I think I just think I want to abolish the face palette. And I truly want to abolish face palettes that have eyeshadows in them. I really don't like that. I'm going to use a spotlight wand. This isn't really correlated to anything I talked about in Critical Sass. But I am going to be using a Charlotte Tilbury eye product, so keep it in the family. Also, I feel like a lot of my highlights right now are more cool leaning, and I know that this one has like a bit of neutrality to it. The time has come. Let's talk about the Beautyverse palette. This is the Beautyverse palette. This is the new palette from Charlotte Tilbury for holiday. I'm just, well, this is like a third impressions. I've worn it a couple of times, but it's not a review. I talked in Critical Sass why I bought it, and so I'm just gonna leave that information there. So if you watch Critical Sass, you know why. You can skip right to this because I have it chaptered. First things first. I mean, look at that packaging. I mean, it's not like really weighted, but Charlotte Tilbury stuff really isn't ever. But like, I will say that this is very appealing packaging. There's a look at the shades inside. So I'm gonna talk about my experience with it up until this point while I'm prepping my eyes. So I'm gonna use the NARS Smudge Proof eyeshadow base, and then I'm going to put the Pat McGrath light setting powder on top just to give a little bit of a powder for everything to glide on. That's just how I like to prime my eyes. The mattes in here are very interesting. They kind of, when you touch them, they're not creams, but they almost feel like creams, and they apply a lot like creams, but not in the way that a Surratt eyeshadow or a Surratt powder blends onto the skin like a cream. And I'm not saying that as a bad thing. It just feels like you're working with creams whenever you're utilizing them. I like the way that they apply. So today what I want to do is use some of the mattes, and then I want to use this shade right here. Now this shade right here is definitely a topper. Like it has like not really base pigment to it, and I've been using it as a topper so far, but you can see it's just kind of like champagne shimmer. I could definitely use the pinks and the purples, but you just saw them in Critical Sass. That's what I was wearing. So maybe I'll also use this bronze shade right here, and then I'll top it with the topper, and we'll just see where that takes us. So I really have enjoyed the mattes so far, and I actually like the shimmers. They're not like the pop shots. I feel like the pop shots I had were pigmented, and I find that these aren't really pigmented except for the silver. The silver it's silver, and I actually think that the silver is the most misplaced shadow in here. So something that I feel like happens a lot whenever brands do something like this, specifically a high-end brand, it's like you put this cool tone in here, particularly the silver, can't really play with the mattes in here. Like, it's so cool toned. Now, whenever you put the purple or the pink on and you have these really warm shades on the eyes, it creates a little bit of like a sunsetty effect, which I actually really like, that play with like warm and cool tones. And I do think that the pink in here is a little bit warm, but I do feel like the purple in here is like a little bit cool toned. But I really liked when I've played with the pinks and purples. I really like the way they look on my eyes, and I really like how they look with the mattes in here. I will say these three mattes feel like that really rich, creamy, dreamy feeling. But the pink one does not feel the same on the finger, and it doesn't really apply the same as the others. So since we're playing with the warmer ones, I don't know that I'm going to like really play with this pink. We might throw it on just so you can see it, but I find that it's not really pigmented. Another complaint that I have so far is that I just don't feel like this is deep enough. I feel like it looks like it's going to be in the pan, but whenever you get it on the eye, it's just, it's not quite it. So I'm going to use all three mattes. I'm going to start with this one right here, which definitely looks cool toned, and you can definitely see like, it's like even when I put my brush in it, it looks like a cream. Like it's, I don't know what to make of them, but what I will tell you is I think that they perform really well and I really like them. And the other thing I will let you know is that I have had no longevity issues with these. I've worn them like all day, both times I've worn them. And my shadows still looked really good at the end of like 6, 7, 8 hours of wear. And I had no creasing. I did use a glitter primer with the shimmers. Let me actually zoom you in. And they also remind me a little bit with the way that they build. It feels a lot like eyeshadows that I really like. So like I find that Hin Dash is really beautiful and buildable and blendable. And I have found that also to be the case with these. Okay, I'm gonna go into the middle brown. I'm going to apply that just like right in the, like right above my crease to create a new crease. The sparkles on my eyes are literally from I just need to wash my brushes. But just see how easy like those work together. And yeah, I do feel though like as though that light shade looks like it's gonna be cool toned. I feel like it mostly lands neutral, and I think it works with the other mattes in here. And then I'm gonna just take deepest one and I'm just gonna keep it right on the outer corner here. And this is like really a red brown, like it's a very red brown. So I do find that these mattes, they're so warm. And it's a little bit confusing, especially this particular shade with that silver. It's like, so what's happening here? But yeah, that's as deep as it really goes. But it still like blends in with the other ones very well. I know that Charlotte's really for like easier glam, right? And she might not want to use deep tones, like deeper tones. But I think that something deeper than this, and also something more neutral than this brown red would, I don't know, I think it just would have made the palette feel more versatile, because it feels like you're making a decided choice with this brown red. But I think it's really pretty, and I like the way that these mattes perform. They are just it's a very interesting texture to get your fingers in. It like almost feels like the Natasha Denona cream to powder, but they're not creams. They're just very silky. What I'm gonna do with the pink is I'm just gonna like put it right there. I'm gonna take a fluffy brush just so you can see it on the skin. It's very subtle, but it also doesn't perform like the other ones. This feels just more like a regular powder to me. And so, like, it's all right. I just don't see myself really utilizing that pink too much, but it's still early days. The bridge of my foundation didn't cover, I've been wearing glasses all day, didn't cover the indent on on the center of my nose. I've really only been using my fingers to apply these shadows. I'll try it with a brush. Not today, but considering I did my base already. So I'm taking that bronzy shade. I can't get all the way into the inner corner with my nails. So I've had a little bit of fallout with these, but I actually find that it's pretty maintainable. And also, like, look at that. That's really pretty. Is it a special shade of bronze? No, but I find that they're all this shiny. They're all this shiny, but this is also something that this particular look is something that I could absolutely do with the Makeup by Mario Ethereal Eyes palette. And I think it would look a little more ethereal. I went way too high. These nails are, I love them, but they also are very much challenging me. I think this is really pretty. Is it the most interesting look I've ever done? No, but it gives me like the vibe where it feels like something that someone who doesn't wear makeup all the time, if they were looking for something to like be a little more fun than what they usually do, I feel like this is that. It's like a step up from The Office. I don't know. Actually, I really like this. I like this shimmery shade. I'm going to take the topper shade. I don't know that we're going to be really able to see it because this shade is so sparkly. And I'm just going to like tap it onto the lid to see if anything changes. Oh yeah, you can see it a little bit. I don't think it made it any sparklier, but it definitely like feel like it made it a little more neutral. Yeah, I want to play with that particular shade on its own. I just want to see what it would look like on the eyes by itself. Okay, I'm going to apply eyeliner and mascara, and I'm going to zoom you out, and we'll finish off with lips. I'm lining with Cocoa from Victoria Beckham, and I'll be using the Tarte Tartelette Tubing Mascara. While I was doing the eyeliner and mascara, I didn't really have a lot of fallout when I just put the gold shade on, but I do feel as though when I was trying to tap this shade in, it led to some fallout. I'll pay more attention to like the fallout situation as I continue to use it, but I actually feel like it's done a pretty impressive job at not falling out whenever I use the glitter glue, and I've used my fingers, but now my fingers are a little bit useless because of these nails. What have I done to myself? All I have left is lips. And Jennifer Coolidge collabed with e.l.f. and kind of did this like pillowy lip situation. And I have received comments that my lips are very juicy and that people want to know my tips and tricks, and it's just the fact that I've been blessed. These are not, I don't have lip filler or anything like that. I've just been blessed with pretty large lips, and so most lip products just look good on my lips because of the way that they are shaped and their plumpness and how big they are. So that's not a brag. It's just a little bit of the reality of the situation is that I've been a little bit blessed, but I am going to do my juiciest lip combo with some things from Victoria Beckham. I'm going to wipe this lip balm off and then we'll get started. For my favorite like glossy look, I really love using the Victoria Beckham Posh Gloss and Tan Line. It's like, I mean, like look at it. Like that's intense usage from me. I don't like use lip products over and over again like that, but the Posh Gloss, this particular shade of the Posh Gloss really does it for me. And I'm going to be using Victoria Beckham's lip liner, which I find pretty unremarkable. And by the way, it's like fine, but it works, you know, and I keep it. But it's the lip definer in 5. And I'm just going to outline my lips. And then the pièce de résistance. I'm not very tempted by the e.l.f. lip kit, but I can certainly do something with a shade I like better, with being this brown lip gloss. Like, I like this color lip gloss a lot more than I would like to have like a baby pink lip gloss. Now, I have some baby pink lip glosses, but whenever I'm even choosing to emulate what e.l.f. did with Jennifer Coolidge, I opted for a different color. It's just sexier and sultrier. I just love this. I love this lip, you know? And I didn't need to buy anything new. It's really hard to get me with a lip release. It has to be a very, very unique color for me to go, ooh. But here's the final, oh, let me spray my face. I'm just gonna do a quick spritz. I have like, I feel like my under eyes are a little bit powdery. So for this after sass, it was a little bit different because I actually had one of the things that I talked about in Critical Sass because it tempted me enough for me to purchase it. But like I said, I did detail all the reasons why I bought this over on the Critical Sass episode, so you can check that out if you want to hear why I bought it. However, most of the face that I did today was done with products that I already have and, you know, another new product that I was planning on purchasing, but wasn't anything that you could buy at Sephora and it wasn't a new release. I don't know that this pink goes with the warmth on the eyes, but that's okay. It's okay. It's about, you know, emulating the releases, not so much about having a cohesive look at the end, but I think I look pretty good. I'm still so unsure about the Sisley powder, but I don't need to know about it right now. Anyway, if you enjoyed today's video, I would love to have you subscribe. You can do that by hitting the button down below. You can like do that. You can join my Patreon if you would like. There's no pressure to. Make sure to like and leave a comment before you leave. And that's that. Remember to follow your haute and you will find me. I'll see you in a video very soon. Bye! Friend.